Hey everybody, and welcome to this video on house washing start to finish. We got a really great presenter today that's going to be talking to you. It's Tyler Rogan. He's a local contractor here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. And I'm going to tell you what you're going to get out of this video when you watch it today. He is going to go through the pre-walkthrough or inspection process. He's going to look for what to clean, what you should avoid, the setup, how he's going to clean it. He's also going to talk about equipment, chemicals, and how to prep the area before you apply those chemicals. And then we're going to go through the whole house wash, show you what he's doing, and it's gonna be time-lapse, so it won't take a long time to watch. And then at the very end, he's go through an overview because the chemicals that are gonna be used, they gotta be dialed in just right. And he's gonna talk about how he did that at the very end of the video, and then you get to see those great before and after pictures. So check it out, hope you like the video. And if you like the content we're presenting and you wanna see future videos, hit the subscribe so you can follow us, and then hit that bell so you get the notifications. And if you like this video, always hit the thumbs up. So now let's get started with Tyler Rogan.
All right, today we're gonna be doing a soft wash process to clean this home. The house here is made mostly of brick and stone. We've got some black algae starting to grow on the surface, so we're gonna take care of that for the customer. First thing we're gonna do is do a walkthrough of the property and just look for any potential issues that we may have while washing the house that may slow us down or require special attention. I'm gonna be looking for any previous damages or areas of concern that I may need to address with the customer, just to cover your back in case you did uncover some peeling paint, chipping wood, cracked stone, things of that nature. And so it's gonna be a good idea for us to do the walkthrough, and then we'll be documenting, taking pictures of anything that may be a concern. So after the walk around, we're gonna determine where we'd like to start on the house wash. In this case, we're gonna be starting on the north side of the home. That's primarily where the majority of the growth is taking place, and it doesn't generally see sun until later in the day. So that morning dew tends to allow that accumulation to build up a little bit more. So we're gonna start there and work our way around to the back. We've got a pool deck and a waterfall feature that are gonna require some attention. And so let's walk around and check out what we're working with. Okay, I'm gonna do a quick walk around of the property and just try to determine our best approach for getting the house wash started. You can see the stone's got some black coloration primarily on two sides of the house. The stone should clean up relatively easy. A lot of the time we do run into a little more work to get that casting clean. The stain just seems to be set in a little bit deeper. So if necessary, the house wash doesn't get to the right level of cleanliness that I would prefer, we may mix up a little bit hotter batch in a pump up sprayer and go up there and just directly apply to that area. We've got stone around the flower beds here. They're well known for growing a lot of algae, and we're gonna treat those with a little bit hotter batch than we would with our house wash mix. Go through and just spray it with a pump sprayer. We'll let it set for quite a while before we come through and try to rinse it off with our gun. We do have a couple features on the home that I want to pay close attention to. We've got a metal peak up on one side here. There's actually a couple of these around the home, and so I'm going to do our best to keep that pretty well soaked so that our house wash doesn't dry on the surface. Sometimes it can leave little spots or streaks, and we want to try to avoid that. We've also got this cap above this window here. It's made of copper, and that is typically not something that I would want to get a house wash mix on. So we're going to be very careful about keeping that thoroughly soaked. Directly above it, we do have the algae growth on the stone, so I'm going to have to soak it pretty well. There's a good possibility that it's going to run down on there, but it's a little more time, but we'll just stay here and continually spray that area to ensure none of it's running down onto the copper and creating any streaks. If for some reason you do end up changing the color of the copper, it can be addressed and a way to fix it, but we're going to try to avoid that for not creating ourselves any extra work unnecessarily. And so that being said, that's pretty much the only concerns that I would have on this back side of the house. Everything should clean up pretty well just with the basic soft wash. You can see this one area here under the gutter. It's a possibility that that is not leveled correctly, so whenever we get a heavy rain it may be running down on the side, but we're going to treat it just as we would around the rest of the house and try to get that black streak off and blend it in. I'm pretty sure that it will. One other thing that I'm noticing underneath on this casting beneath this window, the water that runs off of this copper area is creating a copper stain down beneath, and that can be taken care of. If the customer chose for us to take care of that for them, we can also do that and put another chemical on there to treat and remove that staining and get it back to its natural color. All right, moving up to the front of the house, I can see quite a bit of growth going on with this stone chimney, but should clean up great. Driveway's starting to turn black. We'll be happy to surface clean that for them and should turn out beautifully. You can see this side of the house gets the first of the morning sun, and so the growth is not really going to be much of an issue on this side. We'll probably still give it a light wash just to be thorough, but I think that this portion of the house should be easy going. All right, pretty much the same goes for back here in the back of the house. Do get the early morning sun, and so it dries out quicker than the rest. I just see a couple spots. You know, you can see this area over here. For some reason, that one particular area is starting to have growth on it, so it should clean up easily though. And we've got this patio area that we're gonna take a couple extra steps to ensure we don't cause any problems. We've got a TV set in here. We've got some furniture easily moved, but a lot of the times we'll wrap the TVs in plastic, or in this case, it seems like it might be a little bit better for us just to remove the TV from that area since it's not mounted up. And that way I won't be concerned with when we're spraying on the surface and splashing anything up inside of there. So sometimes I wrap it if I can, sometimes I'll remove it if it's easy to do. And this area most likely gets used pretty often for cooking. I can see this buildup on the wall here, and it's starting to looks kind of like black cobwebs up there if you ask me, but a house wash should break that loose and we can rinse it away pretty easily. A lot of the times you'll come to a home and they've got quite a few things in your work area, and so, you know, part of our job is to move this stuff out of the way so that we don't soak it in anything unnecessarily. We do have around the home a few of these dirt dauber nests, which are very common in this area. Soaking the dirt dauber nest down first is probably going to be our best move. I don't want to try and get up there and blast it all off at once. Just give it a soaking, let it soften up, and then it should rinse away relatively easy. Every now and then you'll get a little bit of a stain behind those nests, and that can happen if they're getting their mud from an area that's high in clay. So dealing with the clay stain, if that were the case, I can come through with some Rust Remover Plus and spray it on there and address those issues. It's not always the case, but I always do keep some Rust Remover Plus on the house wash trailer just for that instance. And we do have a couple areas which have got fire features, and so it's like a little mini fire pit on either side of this waterfall feature, and you can see over time it's starting to cause some discoloration. So we are going to first clean that with some Clearly Clean Extreme, and may use a little scrub brush to break it loose if necessary, and then we'll probably still come through with our house wash mix and wash everything else just to balance out the color of the stone. There's really not too much going on with it, but on this back side it's starting to turn a little gray, so I say we just soak the whole thing and give it a good rinse. So I think this is pretty good for our walkthrough. I didn't notice too many areas that I need to take pictures or be concerned with, but I am going to go ahead and take a couple pictures just for good measure. And I'll use my phone to do that, and we will get ready to start the house wash process. Okay, so he is surface cleaning the sidewalks right now as we're doing our walkthrough. If he's got idle hands, I'd like to at least keep the process going. So I've got him washing the sidewalks as I'm gonna get all my equipment ready to start the house wash. So he should be doing good over there. So the landscapers got some mulch up here on the windowsill. So if I have anything on the surface I'm trying to clean, mulch, leaves, acorns, you know, whether it's on a window ledge or a driveway, I try to get all that stuff out of there so that there's no inconsistency when we're spraying our house wash mix on there. It can leave a dirty mark. If, say, it doesn't soak underneath those leaves or the mulch, it can leave a dirty area. Then you're having to come back and redo that area once more. So if I notice things like that, I'll try to knock them off before we get started. Okay, so this home has a metal door, and that's something that I always try to be very careful while we're working around. The house wash mix can create an issue if it gets on the door and creating streaks or spots. So we'll go and take a look and see what condition it's in to begin with. And so a lot of the time, the surface of these just don't react well with the house wash mix. So this area inside of here doesn't have any growth, thankfully, so we're not going to be spraying our house wash mix into here. We will be using our guns to wash off a few dirt dauber nests that are here and there, but that's just going to be a pretty basic soak and a rinse. And so if I can avoid spraying any sort of house wash on here, I will. And that will, you know, sometimes it's the door, sometimes it's just the handles, but if, say, we were going to wash this, I've got a huge roll of plastic, painter's plastic, and we can open these doors, wrap it in plastic, and close them up, and that would prevent the door. Now, this one actually has the metal trim around the outside also, so if we were going to have to wash this area, we would need to mask this off also. So that could get a little more tricky if you're trying to find a way to totally seal that off. Maybe put the plastic on this outside bit and tape it all the way around. Or, you know, they've got these hooks, we could possibly hang it around the door, but either way, we want to try and avoid getting any chemicals on there. And fortunately for us today, that's not going to be a concern. So we're just going to wash this normal around the outside, do a quick rinse off in here, and we'll just rinse the door off with water afterward, just to make sure that any of these dirt dauber nests haven't splashed any mud or anything that will dry on the surface. Okay, so we're going to be doing a house wash with a Maverick soft wash system from Powerwash.com. Moves a large volume of house wash mix, so you can make quick work whenever you're working with a unit like this. We've got a 55-gallon batch tank that we've mixed up here. Like I say, we've got it to where it's about 3 to maybe 4% sodium hypochlorite in the mix. We've got apple blossom in there, our marking dye, which also has a scent that will help mask the odor of the sodium hypochlorite. And so that's an ideal way to mix it up. Apple blossom is what we typically use. It's an excellent surfactant, helps the sodium hypochlorite cling to the surface, won't run off as quick, and it won't dry as quickly. So it's gonna get more out of your house wash mix and cut down on your usage of your chemicals. And so that, we always like using that stuff. Other than that, sometimes we have these pump up sprayers that we will use for our degreasers, or if we need to have a small batch of stronger house wash mix, we'll keep these pump up sprayers handy. So if we need to treat oil stains, or if we've got a couple rust stains here and there, but it's a good idea, in my personal opinion, to always have a couple good extra pump up sprayers on hand, and that will just have those ready, and that will keep you from having to remix in the same pump up sprayer. So generally 2 to 3 pump up sprayers on the trailer would help. Okay, we've got this plastic sheeting that we'll use if we need to cover TVs or doors or anything of that nature. Like I say, in the back of this house, we're gonna remove the TV out of that cubby, and we're not gonna spray chemicals near the door. Up around the front arch of the door, we will be spraying, so I'm gonna have somebody soaking that door with water just in case it happens to go through that hole at the top and any splashes on there. Better safe than sorry. And so it's always great to have an extra helping hand with you if you're doing these sort of house washes, just to watch out for areas that you may miss while you're in the process. And so, but plastic sheeting is always good to have. We have a drum here of sodium hypochlorite. We tend to buy the 12.5%. That's about the strongest that you can get it. And so we get the most out of it that way, and we can make a very strong batch if we need, and we can obviously dilute it down to whatever is going to be best for the situation that we're working with. But apple blossom here, stuff smells great, goes a long way, and it is great for masking that smell. A lot of the times when we're doing a house wash, a customer may come out and be somewhat alarmed by the smell of the chemical solution that we're mixing. So if they come out and it smells fantastic, it just makes it a little easier on us. Okay. And one other thing that I like to point out, not a whole lot of people use these, but I love them. This is called the dual lance wand. This is going to give you the ability to drop the pressure coming out of your gun on the fly. So if I need to have full pressure, obviously I'll have this closed. It'll work like a normal wand does. But if I crack this open, it diverts the water down 2 of these lances. This is a low pressure tip on the end. And so if I'm washing the house and I need to get, say, in a corner, or I'm working on some soft stone, I can open this up and drop the pressure way down, and it makes it much safer for me to be working on soft stone or to keep from splashing water up all over myself. Just trying to use 3,500 PSI to rinse isn't always that great when you're working around a lot of nooks and crannies. So the dual lance wand is a great investment in my opinion. I never wash without one. And so maybe something to consider. I'm gonna be using a J-rod for pretty much everything we're doing today. I've got the assassin tip on here, which is gonna be great for me reaching up to the higher areas when I need to rinse. And then I've got 3 other various soft wash tips in here. And I can interchange these between my gun or my soft wash unit and get use out of them either way. And so that's just a little something I wanted to throw in there because this dual lens one makes my job so much easier, and I like to come out as clean as possible whenever I'm done washing a house or anything for that matter. And so just wanted to mention that real quick, but the dual lens one is a great way to go. I'm also using a DN10 valve. And this is going to be good for swapping back and forth between the surface cleaner or the wand. We are doing the flat work here, washing the sidewalks as well as washing the house. So we can surface clean everything, kick the valve closed, and then we swap over to the gun real easily. And that will keep us from having to run back and forth to the trailer, turning it on and off. And so that's a good time saver also. If you wanted to get that little accessory, I definitely suggest that. And so I think we're good. I'm about ready to wash this house. All right, the house wash is complete. Feeling pretty good about the results. We soft washed the entire house and did all of the flat work. Took us about 9 hours to complete. Take that back, took us about 7 hours to complete, and feel pretty good with the results. As you can see, the stone behind me turned out as bright as could be. We did have to apply a little bit stronger batch on a couple of the stone areas in the front. We bumped it up to about 5%, in fact. But after we got the mix right for that bad area, they cleaned up well and the customer's satisfied. So I'm ready to collect my paycheck and head on home. So we started on this side of the house, which is the north side, and that was the heaviest covered area in growth. We started off with our soft wash mix at about 3%, and we gave it about 15 minutes to dwell, and it wasn't totally changing as much as I wanted, so we went ahead and bumped it up once we had scooted around here to the front. And so we put 3 applications on this side. Once we got the mix, the ratio right on the front of the house, we were able to get in and out with 2 applications, which was totally ideal. And all of the flat work turned out well. Other than that, totally satisfied with this beautiful home, and I'm looking forward to moving on to the next one. So keep on washing, guys.